This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library
enough, you can get the Truefire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price that you can get Truefire All Access for.
For a long time, I've kind of wanted to do a video on this because I think the Sire Larry Colton, sorry, that was unintentional. What looks like a Strat-ish guitar, I think someone at Sire, if they were being honest, would say, look, actually what we were totally copying was a Suhr. And I've never seen anything to that effect. I've never seen Larry Colton play anything with a Suhr on it. I think, if anything, his guitar was a Valley Arts, which I'll try and find some pictures of, because I don't think that would have had this style cutaway or neck join. If you get two of these guitars in hand, like, it is stark just how much, the classic S, which I think if you had in your hands next to a Stratocaster, wouldn't necessarily be as similar as you might expect. Like, certainly this part here is what, to me, is like the most unique part of a Suhr guitar. And then the Sire just completely lifted it, which, guitar manufacturer being what it is, I guess is, these are both borrowing somewhat from a Fender. Anyway, so I think in this video what I wanted to try and do was give you some sense of, first of all, what it might sound like if you yourself were playing a Suhr or a Sire. Like, would there be a huge difference? Would there be a big difference in feel? Yeah. I guess my real point with this is that And I have had this conversation with one other manufacturer. It wasn't Suhr, it wasn't Fender, it wasn't Gibson, anyone like that. Quite a small manufacturer who was asking if I would like to loan one of their guitars. In the end, I kind of just didn't really see what was in it for me. But in that conversation, they kind of let the curtain slip a bit and essentially kind of said that we're not looking for people that are showing off cheaper gear. And it was a really eye-opening thing for me. I didn't say anything because I was just like, well, I presume at that point, like, it's not really a match anymore, right? And you're clearly not that familiar with my channel, which, to be honest, there's a few reasons that I think we end up seeing more cheap guitars on YouTube than the super expensive stuff. I think, one, it's very difficult to get someone like Suhr to send you a piece of gear, obviously, because there's expensive stuff. Like, I've had some Fender stuff recently, but even so, I don't think... I think that is a huge company, right? Suhr are relatively small. And Fender, you know, I don't know if they're sending out custom shop stuff, which would be, you know, the equivalent of the Suhr. But these smaller companies are not going to just be sending out, like, their boutique guitars to anyone willy-nilly. And then on the other hand, companies like Sire are able to do this sort of thing. And I think it helps to validate them, but also gets their name out there, whereas, you know, Suhr don't have any trouble with that kind of thing. But as I say, like, I had a company, like, definitely say to me, like, we're not really looking to be, you know, in the same places as some of this cheaper gear, which I thought was kind of an interesting point. Right, so, yeah, this is my buddy Lewis's guitar, and I'm giving it back to him tomorrow. Now, I will say this is a fantastic guitar, so this is not to take away from the quality of what Suhr are doing, or, for example, you know, any American builders, like PRS or whatever, these have a overhang at the 22nd fret, and both guitars do it, so, yeah, it's just definitely, I think, based on a Suhr. So how do they really sound? I wouldn't, when I did my comparison of the Ultra Lux versus this, I was really liking, and buddy Chris did also comment on this, like the neck pickup of this. I think these used to be called the Landau pickups, but I don't know if he's still with Suhr, so I think they're now called V63 Plus. These are just bog standard Sire pickups. Now, I'd imagine, so I think the Sire might be marginally lighter. I'll go and get the weights for you for sure. This weighs 8 pounds on the dot. They're both strung up with 10s. Quarter sawn roasted maple. I don't know if this is roasted maple anymore. Both got stainless frets, surprisingly. Price wise, this is about 600. A Suhr Classic S normally is about 3,000-ish. But that's the Mateus signature, which doesn't have too many differences. Now, that does have a silent single coil system, which is a nice feature. If you walked into a bar, do you think you could tell them? As I say, this is a wonderful guitar. The one thing that Sire have not as yet got their heads around, as far as I'm aware, is the Nitro finish, which is one thing where when you look down at this guitar, there's a really classy finish to it. It's got some light Nitro checking. Although this says satin feel neck, it's actually got a bit more gloss to it than straightforward satin, because I think that the headstock I would think of as satin, whereas this has a bit of a gloss to it. I really like the pickups on the Suhr. I really like this guitar. The neck shape I actually prefer to the Sire. It's got a bit more heft to it. Locking tuners on both. And what gave me the idea to do this video was someone had said to Lewis, "Oh, you play those Sire guitars, don't you?" And he went, "Steady on, mate. It's Suhr." No. But I think Suhr has a reputation for being really, really serious, well-built American boutique guitars. Quite a lot of the work at this point, I think, is done, you know, like the frets, plec machined. Just a great guitar, but you know, if I was looking for a backup for a Suhr, and there used to be a brand called Suhr Rasmus. I don't know if any of you will remember them. I used to have one. They were guitars that were made over in the East, shipped over, then disassembled, set up by Suhr, and then sold again. Now, for whatever reason, they didn't manage to make that work financially, and they fairly quickly discontinued that. Now, I don't know if that was partly to do with, you know, being compared to these Eastern guitars, or whether it was strictly financial, or whether they felt like it was taking away from their brand. Because at the time, there was like the Suhr Rasmus thing, or like the Suhr Satin things, and there was a price difference of maybe £1,000. But I'm sure even at the time that they were showing up in shops together, and people were comparing them and then thinking, well, actually, I'm getting quite a lot of guitar for my money here. This is compound radius 2. The frets are not quite as polished as the Suhr, and I will say with other Sire guitars that I've had, there have been inconsistent finishes in terms of you'd find like marks on them, like tooling marks on the neck. This is a really, really, you know, high quality one, which has been pretty much perfect, and the frets. This was another thing that I've found with some Sires, it's because of the way they sort of bevel the fret edges. You can find it a little bit easier to pull the E off, but this guitar doesn't have that particular issue. If I was looking for a backup for my Suhr, think I'd be happy, you know, particularly if like Lewis doesn't gig this because it's, you know, a $4,000 guitar. You don't want this, you know, to be taken out for your average dodgy pub gig or a wedding gig where you leave it unchecked occasionally. You know, the Sire, I don't think you're going to have that same attachment to, but as a backup, I think it would be a fantastic instrument. And I also think my buddy John over in Spain now has done some pickup upgrades on his Sire, and has said like this guitar plays as well and sounds as good as a Suhr. Do you believe him or not? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Yeah, so that's those two guitars sort of pitted against each other, sort of closer than I think Suhr might like. And certainly if you look at those neck joints, that is what Sire were really after. And so I've done comparisons with like Mexican players and stuff like that. It really is like, it's a Suhr copy in my opinion. Cheers for stopping by. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you had good experiences with the Sire stuff. Now they've got stainless steel frets. I think it's even closer to that kind of Suhr experience.